How's it going, guys? Right now you are watching some of the, well, this is not concrete news, alright? There's lots of games that will be popping up on the PlayStation specifically in 2019. Those games are Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, and Death Stranding. So there was actually a few things regarding the information that all these three games may in fact be coming out in 2019, not even later. And if that's the case, that's awesome. But I do not believe that might be the case, me personally. There's also been a quote coming up from Elena Pierce, and she's actually a former IGN editor, and so she left, was about a couple of months ago or so, at the IGN. And in the Twitter pages that you can as well see, and has been, by the way, deleted, so you cannot see it at the moment, unfortunately. And pretty much she states that The Last of Us Part 2 is 100% will be coming up as into 2019, the release date. So as she pretty much claims, well, here it is what she writes. So I have been told multiple times by multiple people, not like things can change or it's set in stone if it hasn't been publicly announced though. So regarding it, that she's just pretty much saying that it's most likely will be happening in 2019, as she claims, obviously. She pretty much said like The Last of Us Part 2 is definitely coming out in 2019, but as I mentioned, the tweet has been deleted, so I cannot exactly show that tweet, but it has happened. Now, while this is a grain of salt, you have to take it into consideration due to the fact that Sony might as well, or Naughty Dog might as well, decide to release it on purposely 2020, even though it could be finished by 2019, well, closer to the end of 2019. So, obviously, if you did not know, by the end of, I believe so, 2017, might be even earlier than that, I believe so, the game was already 60% completely done. And so currently it's the beginning of 2019. So it's pretty awesome to find out more of these introductions and the news. Regarding as well, as I mentioned, this is The Last of Us Part 2 news, a little bit. Regarding as well Death Stranding and Ghosts of Tsushima and so many more, there's been said that those games will most likely be coming out in the 2019 as well, because Sony has published a brand new trailer sort of montage of all the attractions of the games that will be popping up in the future. And it's most likely, maybe not, again, this is not concrete news, that will be coming up in 2019. But if that's the case, then that's pretty amazing, right? We can already expect Days Gone coming out in 2019 in April. You can expect The Dreams coming out in 2019 as well. But I would say it's a little bit perhaps later than Days Gone. And so where does it leave room for the rest of the, exclusive games? The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding. Death Stranding, if you did not know as well, I have made news about this. I will leave down links below in the description if you want to take a look exactly what has been mentioned about Death Stranding. It is also most likely, maybe, I'm not saying concretely it is, but most likely will be coming out also in 2019 by Hideo Kojima himself said it. And this could be interesting to find out more regarding it. Perhaps maybe all these developers that are, and Sony and so many more, right? Then maybe they're, when they mean that it's coming out in 2019, perhaps they mean that all bunch of news and information will be coming out in 2019. Does not mean, or that this does not qualify of the games themselves coming out this year. So, but regarding the news, and if that's the case, lots and lots of these games will be indeed coming out in 2020. It's pretty awesome. I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun as well. This, as I mentioned, guys, this is not concrete. This is more of a speculation. Take it as a grain of salt. It could be happening. It could not be happening. And hell, Sony and Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch and Kojima Productions, they may change their minds and they perhaps consider of actually putting more effort and time into their games and just to polish it a little bit more. And so this is why they could in fact release some of these games in 2020, even though they might be ready by the time of 2019, or by the end of 2019, I might as well say. Regarding as well, Death Stranding has been said, and Sony actually said themselves that they are very, very impressed the way that the pasting going on for the Death Stranding. There have been any delays or sort of say, and they are very, very happy with the upcoming results that has been happening for it. And so this means they are extremely like they were very ecstatic and very excited because they can see that the progress in the game and how it's been developed is going superbly well. And in fact, the game might even come out a little bit earlier than we are expecting it. And so I just don't see, I still go by my words. I want to say, okay, let's make a prediction first of all, okay? I'm gonna say my words and what I think about each of these 3 games that will be coming out, what year, and which I should probably as well state, is it early of 2020, late 2020, late 2019, 2021, who knows, right? So here it is. So I believe so Ghost of Tsushima will be coming out in 2019, but the end of 2019. Why? It's because it's been the longest in the development. Regarding it as well, we have to consider that Sucker Punch are not exactly familiar of making this sort of type of game. Infamous Second Son, Infamous First Light is their type of game that they were developing at first. And then their all hands on deck has been on the Sucker Punch, well, as I said, Ghost of Tsushima. So it's a little bit of a different game if you might consider as well. Regarding as well, I believe so will be summer of 2019 will be since of the starting development. Well, should I say since the launch of the last light that they, well, Sucker Punch have been making this Ghost of Tsushima for about 5 years fully. I can definitely expect it coming out in 2019, the end of 2019. Next game, if we follow it up, it would be my opinion, The Last of Us Part 2. I do not know if it will be coming out also in 2019, the end of it, or in fact maybe I would even say or predict of 2020. If that's the case, I would even say that it might come out in early 2020, and then when PlayStation 5 comes out in 2020, the end of it, that's my prediction again. I think they might get like a remastered version of it again, like an upgrade. And so perhaps maybe they'll like to wait it out and see. Perhaps maybe they can release it in 2020, the end of it. And so they could release it on PlayStation 4 and then on PlayStation 5. Would that make sense? Death Stranding, I think it was going to take a little bit longer than that. I do not think it might be coming out in 2021, by the way. When I say longer, I don't mean it's going to be coming out later. I think that it's not going to be coming out in 2019. I think it's going to be coming out in early 2020. Or perhaps it will be in a similar route as I mentioned, for The Last of Us Part 2. Perhaps it comes out in later 2020, comes out on PlayStation 4 and also on PlayStation 5. You get to choose. So it's just that it would make sense why they would go with this route, because they're pretty much selling the same game twice. And so, more money this way, more funds for them. It's a good idea, but there is a big deal with this part as well. I'm sure that Sony do not want to release 2 of the games, high-end types of games, now I'm talking about, especially exclusives, right, on PlayStation 4 and 5, and have such a little majority amount of time, right? I think that one of the games have to have a seeing point in 2020, early of 2020, mind you, and one of the games will be coming out 2020, in late 2020. So I do fully expect both, pretty much every single game in 2020, well, some of, maybe not every single, but some of them will be coming up, as you might say, on the PlayStation 5 as well. So like 2020, let's say The Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding comes out, I definitely expect those games popping up in a little bit later on a PlayStation 5 era as well, as a remaster title or definitive versions of them. Anyway, these are my predictions. Tell me down in the comments, what are your predictions for these top dogs of the Sony's exclusive games? You never know, really. For the Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, and Death Stranding. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day, and yeah, have a good one.